This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring North Dakota State's offensive coordinator, Tyler Roehl. Coach Rhoel goes in depth about his coaching philosophy, gives insight into the crew chiefs, and talks about life after football. Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Rhoel.
Coach, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great up here in Fargo and tying some loose ends after spring ball, spring recruiting, and turning the page to this next fall season. I really appreciate you having me on for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And I appreciate everything that you've done for the AFCA, former 35 on 35 member. I know you've done some stuff for us for our virtual clinics and things like that. So, I definitely always appreciate you guys over there, North Dakota State. Always helpful. You both you and the DC, man. Y'all have been awesome for me.
Yeah, anything we can do. Obviously I don't have all the answers, but anything I can do to help someone else out, even if it's something really small, I'm more than willing to give back and invest in others. It's there's so many people that you can go back and look at who's invested in yourself, through your career.
Right.
If there's something or even anything I can do, I'm more than willing to help out.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. Now, let's kind of dive in here, man. I thought this was super interesting because, I've got to get to know you here over the last 2 years, but, really it's my first time kind of just diving in and didn't realize you're a lifelong resident in North Dakota. Obviously spent a little time at Concordia College, which is on the other side of the river there. So still allow for you to kind of be in North Dakota. What does it mean for you to kind of, be, number one, at just such a historic football program like North Dakota State? What has it meant for you to just kind of be at home and recruit kids in your own home state and maybe recruit some kids from your high school? I don't know if that's happened or not, but what does that mean to you?
Yeah, growing up in West Fargo, it's, in my opinion, a blue collar part of town. You learn a lot about work ethic and what it takes to be successful. We weren't the biggest high school in the state, the biggest high school in the area. And from, going through the program, the school there, learning what it took to be a successful student, surrounded with great teachers and successful football player, going through that program meant a lot. And then being in Fargo, really my entire life, playing at NDSU from that transition from Division II to Division I, seeing the standard of excellence just continuing to raise consistently and yearly, being able to be a part of the transition and now being a part of the consistent success. Everyone at NDSU is committed to excellence, and, you learn accountability and discipline, attention to detail. And something I always say is you win with people and you win with the right people. And when you have the ability to be a part of this really special program and then recruit people to be a part of this program, a program that you played in, means a lot. I obviously have a soft spot in my heart for North Dakota kids, kids in the upper Midwest. I always say recruit the person and recruit the mentality. We're going to recruit high character, tough physical individuals who are low ego, want to be a part of a team. This truly isn't a player spotlight program. It's not about the me, it's about the we. And we're truly a spotlight team. We're going to spotlight the entire team. So when you get low ego, high capacity individuals who are all in alignment with the vision of how we're going to do things, we're not a statistically driven program. It is special because how much time, effort, and energy has been put into the program for a number of people for a number of years. We just want to continue to work to do things better than they've ever been done before. So it means a lot. It means a lot being from the community, being in the community, being heavily involved within the people here in Fargo-Moorhead. So we just need to continue to work to do things better.
Well, you've definitely done a tremendous job of etching, just that program is such a pivotal part of the state, as I can only imagine. 7 FCS titles, 8 conference titles in your time, just your time alone. And you said you're not a statistical guy. I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about your role there a little bit. You're not a statistical guy, but I got a GA that kind of does a lot of this homework stuff. So this blew my mind a little bit. The tight ends and fullbacks have accounted for 42% of NDSU's receiving touchdowns since 2014, 3,500 yards, 67 touchdowns. And I just thought that was super interesting because fullbacks, definitely. I mean, you cut on a game on Saturday. I mean, how many fullbacks are you even seeing? The reality of it is, just on any typical Saturday, I don't care what level you're watching, you're just not seeing a ton of them. I know once you kind of start getting in that region, you do see a little bit more, whether it's D3 level or not. But I mean, God, you guys are utilizing those position groups kind of like very uniquely. I mean, more than most other places. And as the offensive coordinator, you actually oversee the tight ends and fullbacks, which is kind of unique in itself. Typically, you see the guy being a quarterback guy, or even an offensive line guy at times. What have you been able to do? What advantages have you found been able to coordinate from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into that question, and just overall offensive philosophy. Our number one goal is to be multiple and simple. We're going to be multiple in personnel groupings, multiple in formations, multiple in shifts, trades, motions. How can we put our best playmakers in a position to be successful, yet keeping it simple in scheme, because it always comes down to the level of execution. And, coaching the tight ends and fullbacks, and you kind of talked on the receiving touchdowns. You can, through game planning, find opportunities and matchups where you have, big body against little body, utilizing our run first mindset, 4th and 1 mentality, where people are going to come in each and every week and try to stop and defend the run game, and then utilize our play action pass game, especially under center play action, to get people downhill. And then that's opening up some easy access throws for our quarterback, just because, passing efficiency drives our pass game. It's our precision, it's our timing, and it's our execution within protection, and all 11 being on our spot on time. So I truly think with what the tight ends and fullbacks need to know, whether it's even just install, game plan, what have you, they're so heavily involved. As a player, I played fullback and then transitioned to tailback. Never did anything in line. So the offensive coordinator at the time, Tim Polisek, who's a mentor of mine, he was hired in 2014, and when I was hired back, he asked if I would coach the tight ends, and I said, absolutely. Obviously you have to, learn all the technique, communication, what have you, to feel like I'm a master of the position. And he helped me immensely. Our O-line coach at the time, Connor Reinley, helped me out a ton. But with how involved we are and how, pro style we desire to be, whether you're on the front side of a scheme, understanding communication within box structure, fronts, communication with the tackle and the O-line, and then backside, how that is involved, whether it be zone or our gap scheme, and, where the ID is, and whether it's our power scheme, our counter scheme, our zone scheme, all the communication that's involved there. And then you look at, quick game, and what part of the concept you are, whether it be quick game or drop back, if we're being utilized in some sort of protection, and understanding the front and where we're needed within the protection, and then the technique that's all involved, whether you're seeing an odd front, a 4-down, a 4-down with a 5 technique, 6 technique, or a 9 technique. And they're just, all of that communication and teaching that's involved, that's put on our position group's plate, they're so integral to our offense. So to oversee that group and really, I truly feel like there's as much on their plate as the quarterback's plate.
Yeah, no
just
question.
from a game standpoint.
Yeah.
So, I've learned a ton just having to coach the tight ends and fullbacks. And whoever's, put into this type of role, coaching this position within this style of offense, need to be able to teach, communicate, and lead, the multiple of people within the room to be able to reach them, to understand everything that is involved within the offensive schemes.
Man, I love that you dove into that like that. And I told you beforehand we weren't going to get into much X and O scheme stuff. But I do have a question. This is about football in general here. You've seen over the years, and I'm not talking about just in our lifetimes, but even beyond that, you kind of seen the evolution of the game, and it kind of ebbs and flows, and the success that you're seeing from your program, from some of the Division IIIs there, Wisconsin, just lining up, getting back downhill, putting a fullback on the field, putting a tight end, condensing the formation. Do you see that coming back around? In a greater scheme of things, and I'm talking about in the Southeast part of the world. Yeah, do you see that coming back around? I know this is a philosophical question for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to, because I like kind of being the anomaly, because there's not a lot of people that have to defend, downhill I formation. You see probably a defensive playbook in the first formation that they're defending is 2x2 or 3x1 gun spread. So when you're able to kind of be not of the norm, I don't know. I kind of desire that, but I'm such a fan of, under center, downhill.
Yeah.
It's probably, I don't know, more boring to the fan, but to real football people, it is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
When you're seeing under center power, under center pinfall, under center zone, and then everything that you can do off of it and tie off of it within the play action pass game, schematically, it's truly beautiful. Is it going to come back around? I don't know. I truly feel like the fullback position starting to come back around a little bit, but that might be me being a little bit biased and hopeful.
Yeah.
Because, we're going to, and we have implemented some formations and personnels where we're going to have 3 or 4 fullbacks on the field. So it's, I don't know. I do think, within the evolution, it's always going to come back around. So at some point, yes, I do believe that it will at some time.
That's interesting, because I have asked this question, believe it or not, before. Now that I have nothing but time on my hands since I kind of stepped away from coaching, and one of the unique answers I got was it might be difficult because the high school has gotten away from it so much, and obviously at the collegiate levels, the high schools aren't running it. I mean, how are you identifying kids? And clearly, you guys are. Clearly, like I said, the list of schools I kind of listed earlier are still finding those guys now. Is that what you guys are seeing in a lot of your high school ball, or are you guys projecting? Are you guys, how are you finding your fullbacks?
Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of go through the recruiting process and what you desire, sit down as a staff and what you're looking for within the tight end position group or the fullback position group. And, whether it's an oversized running back or I've even taken undersized offensive linemen, who you're watching on film, they're getting out and pulling and running. They may not have the best ball skills, whether it be hand-eye coordination, what have you, things that you can absolutely work on, but the things that we desire out of the position is just, a mindset and mentality to be extremely violent and truly assault their aim points and accelerate through contact, all those things. So, from that standpoint, there are some offenses, in the upper Midwest that still get under center and run the football pretty effectively.
Yeah.
The tight end position group has been probably more tricky.
Oh, really?
One kid that we have this year, Noah Gindorf, he came to camp. He was a quarterback in high school, and he's a big time player for us. He's a really good basketball player. You just saw his ranginess on the court. And then another tight end that we had that is with the Panthers now was a receiver, played a little bit of quarterback, but you saw how explosive and dynamic the kid was. And I'm telling you the truth, it was on the volleyball court. He was a really, really good volleyball player. Wow. Not something I would probably typically say, within it. But it was awesome. And he was a really violent blocker and a willing blocker. came and did an awesome job. So, that one's, you've been a little bit more creative and multiple, and you're more looking for the person, the body type, the mindset, and then intelligence, and be able to, transition to coaching technique. And if you come in contact with a willing kid who loves football, like us, like all of us coaches up here, then you're getting the right person on the bus to continue to teach and implement, into our schemes, as they go through their career.
Well, I do have to say, after close to 300 episodes, that is the first volleyball comparison I've ever heard, and I'm not laughing at that at all. In terms of, I've actually kind of gotten to watching volleyball here as of late. Just the athleticism that they have, the ability to be explosive. I know they're not high pointing a football, but they're high pointing a volleyball a lot of times. I mean, it's just so many skills that correlate in these other sports. And I remember I signed this offensive lineman that played tennis, a kid from Mississippi, man. And it was such an odd deal to go in and talk about how good this kid can move in tennis. And so it's always weird when you find these other sports that you're able to find some, some correlation. Now, I'm not saying go ramsack every volleyball program that you can find, with, but at the same time, man, it's just pretty cool when you go and find somebody that with that's able to kind of fit what you're looking for in a different sport. Now, you're talking about tight ends and fullbacks here. You kind of got this unique deal, and I always get excited about this part because I've always kind of named my room, and every year I do change that name so everybody kind of has their own identity. The 2022 guys kind of can have their own special deal, but your tight end and fullback room is the Crew Chiefs. Which is kind of an interesting name. Talk to us a little bit about where it came from, and what it takes to be a part of the Crew Chiefs, and what you try to build off that name and that identity.
Yeah, I didn't have the luxury of naming position group. It was a coach prior to me.
Oh yeah,
and it's the guys truly embody it, and within a crew chief. We will do whatever's asked of us. If you ask us to take out the trash, we'll take out the trash. If you ask us to go and practice for 3 hours, we'll go and practice for 3 hours to the best of our ability. If you want us to kick out the power 40 times a game, we'll do it. If you want us to go out in routes 37 times a game, we'll do it. So truly it's setting the tone for the group within the offense. Bringing a positive, contagious energy, to the entire unit, and doing whatever's asked of us,
right.
And having that mindset of, again, there's not just one guy, it's the group, and our goal is to be the most physical, dynamic group in the nation, top to bottom. So we all hold each other to the standard, and what's neat is, as you've gone through, I've had the group for 8 or 9 years now. You just see the older guys continuing to, carry on the tradition, in what it takes to be a successful tight end and fullback, and then holding those younger kids accountable to the standard of excellence in what we have in the room. So, truly embodying doing whatever is asked of us for the team to be successful.
Right. Hey, and just a quick follow-up. You don't have to get super in detail here if you don't want to, but the reality of it is that group probably would be everything that you just said if they didn't have that name. But you took over the room. You had the opportunity to probably just call it the tight end fullback room. Well, how do you feel like that maybe has helped bring some camaraderie, or build some unity amongst that group? But, is that something you'll move forward with, just kind of having something to rally around?
Yeah, it's something that I've had the entire time that I've here. I think they've been named the Crew Chief since probably 2010. So we're going on 12 years, and each and every position group has had their same really nickname.
Oh, wow.
Offensively, probably since around then, maybe 14, when some new coaches came in and it may have switched or added. So I think there's a uniqueness. I think there's a buy-in. I think there's an identity to the group that everyone within the group rallies around, and really tries to embody and create that mindset for them. And, they truly take ownership. So I think it's appreciated for the players within each and every individual position group.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love to hear that. Now, I got a question for you. Obviously, you've been around a ton of success in the program, and so when you do have opportunities to talk to people outside the program, I'm sure a lot of questions typically gear about North Dakota State, your journey there, blah 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 blah. But I do want to throw it way back to 2012, 2013. You spent 2 seasons at Moorhead High School, and man, I coached high school ball for a little bit, and I know everybody that has had that great opportunity to coach high school ball and transition to college. Those are some special years. What did that experience coaching high school? And I think you were a defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What did that mean to you, and really your success, moving forward?
Yeah. So just from the time I was done playing, an opportunity with the Seattle Seahawks, and went there, and then had an opportunity with the Vikings, and you're kind of at a crossroads. What are you going to do? I coached with Concordia College for that year. That was my first time coaching. And then I was a GA with NDSU in 11, coaching the running backs. And then you go back to high school, and I truly feel, obviously coaching is teaching. Mm-hmm. And teaching is to inspire learning. And when you have, 9th through 12th graders, where you have the freedom and flexibility when you're with collegiate student athletes to be able to say, hey, get in 3-point stance, get in, a good football position. And, you take that for granted. So my 2 years, great 2 years at Moorhead with unbelievable people, you truly had to break down, teach, simplify, and truly learn the learner. Yeah. Learn how to teach and communicate the fundamentals, the schemes, techniques to a wide variety of people and wide variety of football IQ. Yeah. Because there may be someone who just joined in football for the first year. There may be someone who's been around football their whole life. So you can't just say, hey, get in a 3-point stance. You truly got to go and teach a 3-point. I mean, that has helped me just through my whole career now, and just not taking anything for granted, truly being attention to detail, prepared within meetings, how you're going to teach a certain technique, a drill in practice, try to get something across to your players. Really special to see, a young 9th grader who doesn't know a whole lot about football have a ton of success, in practice than in a JV game. Pretty unique, pretty neat. And you don't take those learning opportunities that you had as a young coach for granted. So I was very thankful for that opportunity to be able to, have flexibility and freedom to run a defense, to communicate the schemes, the techniques, the communication to the other coaches and how we wanted to have that defense look, the philosophy, the mindset, the adjustments to, everything that goes into a game plan, and then communicate that to the players. So that really thrust me into a position of leadership early, and to lift everyone else up around me, to have an understanding of what we're trying to do, how we're going to accomplish it, and then create the vision moving forward. Extremely helpful and instrumental in my career path.
Man, that's awesome. I love to hear that. And like I told you, I spent some time in high school and obviously transitioned to college. And so everything that you said, I probably would say. The only thing that I've never, I guess I knew this, but I never really heard it put in those terms, is that really that spread on an IQ spectrum. Because when you think about it, if you get a guy to come in and play college ball for you, now doesn't mean his IQ's high. I mean, because we definitely had our fair share of guys that walk in and were able to out athlete guys and maybe need some help honing in some football IQ. But that the spread is a lot tighter. It's most of the guys are going to be around the same range. They're going to understand football to a certain extent. And you're right, in high school you might have a a freshman that's been playing football since he was 5, and then you also might have a guy that just learned how to put his helmet and mouthpiece on, and,
Right.
and so that just coaching to that spectrum, and that might all be in your receiver group or your linebacker group. You have that whole spectrum there. So that is an interesting perspective or a way to put that major difference between the two. Now, we talked a lot of ball, and every time I've ever talked to you, we talked a ton of ball. I do want to talk about something that I know is important to you as well. You guys have had 10 NFL draft picks in the last 9 years, which beats out a lot of FBS programs, to be brutally honest with you. There's still many players going to have careers away from football. What is the number one thing you want? The crew chiefs, when they walk away from your meeting room and they hang up the pads and they're done with football, what do you want them to be prepared for in the real world, and what do you try to prepare them for?
Yeah, I think the game of football can teach you so many things. And the first thing, just from being a good person, but being a trustworthy person, because if you don't have trust as an individual, you don't have anything. So being able to trust in me, to being able to trust in other people, and then being able to be a trusted individual. I think those things, are extremely big. Having a positive, enthusiastic energy about yourself, positive energy about what you're doing, having the right attitude and mindset. But I think some of the biggest things is doing things with a high level of discipline, being on time is early, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to be doing it, how you're supposed to be doing it, being able to be held accountable, because that's not always bad, yet having the initiative to hold others accountable. If you see something that's not right, hold the other individual accountable or group of individuals accountable. Doing things with a relentless effort, relentless work ethic, because I think effort is underappreciated. And whether it's just playing football, going to your job and working extremely hard, do it with a relentless effort and work ethic. And then being of high capacity, being an ever-evolving learner, being knowledgeable about what you're doing, yet encompassing all of that, doing it with unbelievable character, and just treating people with respect. I think all those things encompass things you can learn from the game of football, things that I want to communicate, talk about, within our individual position meetings, and kind of my personal philosophy. Show up early, outwork every single person in the building, yet make those around you better or inspired to be better. And I think all those can help in life and in football.
I love it, man. I love it. And I knew you would have a pretty in-depth, passionate answer for that. And I do want to highlight this because I actually just found this out. You were a member of the 2008 AFCA Good Works team as a player. I know that's a throwback right now, but what was that experience like, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's you talk about playing in the community that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Playing college football in this great community, and being able to going to give back, whether it be at an elementary school and reading, going to the high school. When I was finishing up my senior year, and then the next year, Fargo actually had some bad flooding. So rallying some people to go out and sandbag and making sure we were protecting the community. I was just doing the right thing and being able to give back because of the platform that we have, and people look up to us as student athletes. You have an unbelievable opportunity to make a positive impact, and even if it's just one person a day. And, we as a program have implemented some leadership council to go do some of those things. And, we have unbelievable support each and every Saturday in the Fargo Dome. And it's not by accident. Yeah. We're going to get out, we're going to give back to the community because they're there for us every single Saturday. So getting that award it meant a lot. but to have, everlasting and continuing consistent impact is what's probably more beneficial.
Absolutely. Coach, we sure appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for your time. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, for everything you've done for us at the association, man. And we much appreciate it. Wishing you a great summer, a great fall, and look forward to seeing you in Charlotte in 23, man.
For sure. And us as coaches, we all appreciate what you do for us and the Coaches Association. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated. You have a great summer as well.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price. And remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.